Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome to Guitar Lessons with Scott. I'm Scott, and in this video we are going to jump to music theory video number 2, and we're going to take a look at the major scale. What is the major scale? Where are we going to play it on the guitar to figure all this stuff out? Then we're specifically going to look at the C major scale. And then after that, I'm going to show you how basic major and minor chords are built off the major scale, and specifically, we start by looking at the C major scale. So this is really the beginning of understanding theory. If you haven't seen the first video of learning how to identify the notes that on the guitar, and we went over whole steps and half steps too, you'll definitely need to watch and learn how to do that first before jumping onto this. But let's just jump right into it. So if you just want to grab, maybe you have a little music theory notebook that by now, that would be cool. But we're gonna take a look at the major scale. Okay, so there is a formula for the major scale, and I just wrote W's and H's, but they stand for whole steps and half step. So the formula is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step. And that's the formula for the major scale. And I'll show you what the major scale we're going to look at right now on the guitar, and then I'll explain what the whole step, half step stuff means. But feel free to write that down. That's a good thing to write down. And grab your guitar, make sure it's tuned, and let's jump into the C major scale. Okay, so here we go. Alright, so the C major scale is going to start on a C note. Okay, so when you're playing the C major scale, or if you're playing the D major scale or the G major scale, it's always going to start on the note that it is. So the C starts on the C, G would start on a G, and as we learned in the last video, so we're going to start here on the second to top string, which would be the open A, and we're going to go up to the C. So from the last video we learned how to go A, B, C. Okay, there's a C right there. So that's where the C major scale starts, and I'm just going to play it for you real quick, and then we'll do more stuff with it. Alright, so we got the C note right there. So this is the scale that we're going to be playing. Alright, so that's the C major scale. That's the pattern. That pattern that I'm playing. We're gonna use that same pattern for every single key to learn all of it. So this pattern that I'm playing right here is very important. So let's go over first how to play it, and then I'll talk about the whole steps and half steps. So we start here on the C note with our middle finger. Okay? And then we're going to go on the same string, we're going to go up a whole step with your pinky. So from middle to pinky. Alright, then we're going to drop down here, second fret, third to top string. So you go middle, pinky, pointer, right there on the second fret. And then your middle finger right next to it, same string. And then middle to pinky on the same string, a whole step. And then we're going to go down another string with our pointer finger to this guy, third to bottom string, second fret. Then we're going to take our ring finger, go up a whole step to there, and then we're going to go ring finger to pinky, just a half step. Alright, so playing it slowly, we got middle, pinky, same string, drop down a string, pointer, 2nd fret, up a half step, same string, middle finger, pinky, up a whole step, same string. Then we drop down another string, pointer, and then we go up a whole step with our ring up on the same string, and then the pinky. Okay, so it goes. Okay, so that's the C major scale. That pattern right there, that same exact pattern is you're going to want to memorize that pattern. It's going to make everything a lot easier, because when we go to the G major scale, your fingers are going to do the same exact thing no matter where we go. So just remember that pattern, very important. Practice, practice. Always feel free to pause the video. Take days practicing that scale. If you don't feel comfortable moving on to the next thing, there's no rush. Okay? Alright, so now, if you wrote down that formula, so how does that formula apply? So the formula, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. So starting on that C note, after you hit the C note, you start the scale. So it goes whole step, C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step, E to F is a half step, F to G is a whole step, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, B to C is a half step. So that's just the formula. So it's so it goes whole step, half step, whole step, half step. That is the formula. That is just the formula. It's not really. That's all it is. Just the formula. Okay, so now, being able to play that, doesn't matter how fast you play it, but being able to play that comfortably is very important. So always, practice that. And when you're ready for I want to know more. Okay, so the C major scale. So all we're going to do to write down what the scale is pay attention to what notes your fingers are playing. Okay? So it's a little tricky, and it takes some time to get good at identifying the notes when playing the major scale, but we're starting on a C, we're going to a D, we drop down to an E, E to F right next to each other, F to G, whole step, G to A to B, and B to C. So in the C major scale, there's no sharps and no flats. It's just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, so that's why in the last video we went over how to identify the notes, because what a good practice would be is to play that scale and, pause the video, don't look at anything you've written down, and just play that note and be like, okay, that's C, because A, B, C. Alright, that's D, okay, that's a E. Just go through and play and identify, look at the notes you're playing, and say the note out loud that you're playing. Okay? At first it's really challenging, but eventually it gets a lot easier through practice and time. So that is, how you, and then, if you, it's like that's the C major scale. That's what it is on the guitar, and that's the C major scale. So, okay, so feel free to pause the video, practice playing the C major scale, practice identifying which notes you're playing, and once you're kind of like, okay, you've played the scale a little bit, you've identified the notes, and you're a little comfortable with that. Okay, Next step. Write down the C major scale. Okay? Write down C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then write down underneath in Roman numerals. I know that's a little weird, just do it. Alright? Write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1 underneath each letter. Okay? That's very important. That's how you're going to figure out a lot of things. That's very important. So write it down. Just trust me. Write that down. C, D, E, F, G, underneath Roman numerals. Okay. So, now that you've done that, we're going to take a look at how a major, so these right here, see that's the formula for the scale itself. This is taking apart the formula and this is the formula for a major chord. It's built off the major scale. This is a formula for the minor chord that's built off the major scale. Pretty much everything you listen to and everything and most things that people play is built off the major scale. It's very rare you'll hear something that's not built off the major scale. Okay, so what is it? So the formula for the major chord is 1, 3, 5 equals a major chord. Okay, so what does that mean? So you look at the notes for 1, 3, and 5. You have a C, an E, and a G. So the three notes, the triad of notes, that is C, E, and G, makes a C major chord. The three notes, C, E, and G, make a C major chord. That is what the major scale is telling us. That is what this is telling us. Okay, so C, E, and G. All right, well, let's test that out. All right, let's take a look. So, most of you probably know what a C major chord is. Just have your ring finger there, middle finger there, pointer finger there, open strings in between. So, C, E, and G. They're saying, it's written down that that's a C major chord. So, what notes are we playing when we're strumming this right here? Alright, well, this note right here is a C. This note that your middle finger pressing down on the string below, 2nd fret, is an E. So we have C, E, and then the open string below that is an open G, right? C, E, and G. And then if you play the whole chord, it goes back to a C and another E. So you have C, E, G, C, E, C, E, G. So technically, if you just strum those three notes, that's a C major chord. If you put your pointer finger down, it's a fuller C major chord, the fuller sound. That's technically those three, C major chord. Okay? So that is how the major chord is built off. That's how the major chord is built off the C major scale. Okay? So you just take 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5, C, E, G. That's a C. That's a C major chord. Okay? So the formula for the minor chord is 1, 3 flat, 5. Okay? So what does that mean? So that means we take C, E, and G, the 1, 3, and 5, but we flat the third. So we're going to play an E flat instead of an E. Okay? So we're flat like an E flat. So C, E flat, G is technically a C minor chord. So how would that look on the guitar? Let's take a look. Alright, so we're going back to here. So we have C, E, and G, creating C major chord. Alright, so if we flat the E, this means we drop it down half a step, right? To this guy right there. Alright? So if you hit those three chords, you see E flat G, that's technically a C minor. That's not a popular way to play C minor, but it is technically a C minor. What's the popular way is a bar chord. You have a, so you know, we have a, okay, so for the C major bar chord is right there. Alright? And you know, what notes are we playing? Well, we're playing a, you know, these three are being held down, and this guy's also being held down. So we have a C. This guy is a G. What's that note? Right there. That's a G, A, B, C. It's another C. So we got C, G, C. What's that note? That is a B, C, D, E. C, G, C, E. So that is the bar chord for C major. Okay? So if we have that E right there, and we flat it, we take it down half a step, and we play that as a bar chord, we got a C minor. C major, C minor, C major, C minor. Okay? So, that is all the information I'm going to throw at you today. That's a lot of information. It's a lot. That's a lot to sleep on, a lot to practice, and a lot to go over. You know, so you know, I was just trying to show you how chords are built off the major scale. There's, you know, every single chord. There's a ridiculous amount of chords that are built off the major scale, and they all have their own little formulas. You know, 1 3 5 is always a major. 1 3 flat 5 is always a minor. But yeah, so I would say just practice playing the C major scale. Doesn't matter how fast you can play it, just until you're comfortable playing that. You know, and you know, I really recommend writing this down. Having your own page for the C major scale. Just one page for the key of C. Most songs are in the key of C. Because it's the simplest key there is, and that's why we're starting on it. But yeah, so write down the C major scale, all the numbers below. 1 3 5 equals a major chord. 1 3 flat 5 equals a minor chord. Practice, sleep on it. There's no rush. You know, feel free to spend 2 weeks just on this. Just play the C. Just wait. You know, every day or whenever you can, play the C major scale. I say out loud. That's the most important thing you can do. Is just go. That's a C, D, E, F. Actually pay attention to the notes that you're playing, and you'll be well on your way to learning theory. It's all very challenging at first, but once you get it, it's very simple and very fun. So, and it just gets more and more fun with chord progression and all that stuff. So, practice, sleep on it, patience, love yourself. Adios.